welcome to Limitless Faith Podcast. We have back with us for the second time, Mr. Jamar Camper. Welcome. How's it going?
Doing great, feeling good, blessed, highly favored. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Yes. When we last had you, you had just put out your first book. Lives, just give us a little synopsis.
Sure. So my first book, Supernatural Confidence, Having Next Level Belief in the PC World, in the Timid PC World, dropped right last fall, November. At that time, I was a little, nervous. My first time being an author and going through those steps, but I did it. It was done, of course, with faith, a lot of faith, and processing confidence through God. So I'm very happy about that. Happy with the results. Been invited on a lot of podcasts since then. Done some traveling. I'm very thankful that despite the pandemic, I was still able to reach a lot of people. So I'm very grateful for that, and grateful for opportunities to work with people like yourself.
Awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. Especially with you confidence out of so many different people. And I know, you've helped me as well. So I've been reading up on it and stuff. So I really want to thank you for that. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Controversy today. I say that because you always post these statuses, how to be feminine or masculine and those type of things. And it strikes some nerves with some people. But I feel like it's really something that really needs to be discussed, especially in our generation. So we're just going to dive into that a little bit. So what would you say is the major difference between modern day gender roles versus some traditional gender roles?
Sure. So you see me, I do talk a lot about feminine and masculine, and it does spark a lot of, I guess, different opinions from, all types of people. And I do that because I want people to know that when there's clarity, we all can move forward. When we don't have clarity in anything, relationships or otherwise, it causes confusion. So if I had to state a difference is when I think of the traditional gender roles, there was clarity and who would do what and who and how would each person contribute to the relationship. And when I think of the modern gender roles, I think there's a lot of unfortunate confusion because a lot of couples don't know, who's to lead what and how to do this, how to do that. So what happens is, in my opinion, because there's no clarity, both sides resent each other, and then they start blaming each other for different breakdowns in the relationship. Communication goes wrong. So that's the biggest difference is traditional gender roles. There was clarity. We kind of knew where each other stood, and I understood where you were coming from. But today, there's so much definition on this person should do this person should do that. There's no clarity, so it causes confusion.
I so agree with you on that, Jamar. I was talking to a young lady the other day about that, specifically what you just said when it comes to confusion. And they feel as if, I noticed the modern feminine women feel as if they're equal to a man. And the
Right.
feminists, and then a traditional woman, as a traditional woman, I was telling her, because I almost got caught in it, Jamar. I went to college, and that's what it seems to be, one of the main things, the women, we become educated, and we start subscribing to this whole modern feminist woman. And I wanted to be the rich auntie, as they say, traveling around the world and, worried about me. But thank God, my relationship with God and my identity, and I realized what my purpose was, and all of that, my identity in Christ, it switched my mindset to traditional. and what my purpose was as a woman, as a helpmeet. But yeah, they really believe that they are equal to a man and not that the man should lead. They really feel as if like they're the man, or it's, it's 50-50, not only with the
Right.
finances, but with everything. They
Correct.
feel like they're the head of the household. So I definitely agree with you on the confusion. I don't want to be a man. I want to stay in my femininity. I don't want to be,
Correct.
I don't,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I remember maybe we had a conversation about it a long time ago, where I kind of gave a description about, in my opinion, of course, how a lot of modern relationships, you got to imagine there's a big box in the room, and on one side, the boyfriend or husband has the side, and the other side, the wife or girlfriend has the other side of the box. And imagine they both are trying to lift it up, and they're trying to go out the door, right? But they're arguing about who should go first. How should we go out and get the box out? No, it's no clear direction. It's just, well, you should do this, you should do that. All this whole time they're arguing, the man could have easily picked up the box and just carried it out himself, or strategize on, hey, help me here or help me there. Just position it this way, and I'll get it out, this, etc. But they're arguing about, no, I'm going to do this. And that's how I picture a lot of modern relationships. It's just, you're arguing about the angle to get a box out of the room.
that's such a good example and breakdown because I don't know if you watch Marriage at First Sight, but if you don't, you definitely should. But you could
Oh, I've
see a
seen that.
lot of the
Yeah, I've seen
modern
that
day.
show.
So I mean, it's so many examples as to what you just said. You can literally see the modern day women within all of those women. And like you just said, one lady on the show in particular, Brianna, she, just like you
Hmm.
just said, they will not allow their man to lead. They will not submit. They have to argue about every single thing. I don't care what it is, down to the pets. They have to like put their input in instead of allowing the man to make those big decisions, or not saying that you can't have an input or you got to be quiet or whatever, but they have to
Right.
argue, like you just said, Jamar, about every single thing. So I think you're absolutely dead on about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. The Bible says a king hearkens to his advisors, and of course, one of the main advisors, if not one of them, is going to be your wife. Giving you counsel about this, counsel about that. So it only benefits you, taking your wife's input, see what she has to say, your significant other. And I'm not definitely not saying dismiss them. And I think that's the confusion is, if you, as a man living in today's world, if you lead, then it's seen as you're being dismissive or you're oppressing. And that, that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yes, that is the big confusion. I don't understand why women, and obviously you could tell I'm a big woman with a big voice. So, like, why,
Hmm.
it's not that you have to be dismissed, like you can't speak up, like you
Correct.
don't have a voice. I don't understand why we can't grasp that that it's not like you're being oppressed. You're not. You're literally, you
Correct.
can still get the same point across, but being in your femininity. It's ways to do things, without
It's
being
a
so
way to do
masculine,
things.
so to speak. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't understand the appeal from the woman's side of, why do you feel like you need to conquer the world, you need to do everything in one day, you need to be recognized, as this big, like we said earlier, quote unquote, equal to the man. I always tell women, the man is here to make life easier for you. So, why do you dismiss that? Why do you not take to that as a compliment to yourself? But unfortunately, many point to, like the status said, their degrees, paycheck, your titles, all these worldly things that are, should just be seen as tools to advance you and, sustain you in life, not to be, taken as, this is my ego, this is who I am. And like you said earlier, you were in college yourself, and you saw for yourself that while you were there, the indoctrination started early as far as feminism. Excuse me. Um, the thing is, even before you get that degree, you're a woman. You're a woman before the degree. So, despite any position you attain, you being a woman should be the first thing that you should be proud about, not the fact that you went to this school, you got this degree, you got this GPA. Those are things to celebrate, of course, but the main thing that's going to attract a masculine man is when you're in your feminine energy. Period.
And you get so much more further. It feels so much better as a woman to remain in that femininity. Why would I want to go out and do all of the hard work when my man could go do that? And I
Right.
could be in my femininity, relaxing and being a beautiful woman in my essence. You know what I mean? So you were so right.
Absolutely.
The indoctrination was carried from younger. I don't know what it is. I know with Black women in particular that does it feel like we're pushed to go get the bag and go get the degrees, but we're not really taught, so to speak, or pushed to be a wife, or really taught to be a wife. So I think that's one of the main things. And then I notice a lot too, because I have a lot of modern feminist women, friends and everything. Another thing, they try to make it seem as if degrees equate you to be a wife. That does not. That's not one and the
Right.
same.
Not at all.
What are your
Definitely
thoughts?
not. I think it's the degree is seen as status symbol, and it's seen as this is the thing that you should appreciate about me. Or I think, as you see on a lot of my statuses, I always talk about I don't like this table talk because it's a distraction from what needs to be the focus. Because we always say, "Oh, what are you bringing to the table?" And that's the problem right there. This table that we keep bringing up, and of course, number one thing the women want to talk about is, well, I'm bringing my master's degree, I'm bringing this degree, I'm bringing this position to the table. Okay, but a degree is not going to save your marriage if it's on the rocks. A degree is not going to make you a better mother. A degree is not even going to make you a better friend socially. So I don't understand why would you put that first. A degree is for you as a person to compete in the marketplace as far as jobs, positions, titles. But when it comes to attracting the best mate for your life, um, I don't think modern women understand that a man in position to take care of you is not going to say, okay, she has this degree, so she definitely should be my wife.
Mm-mm. They're gonna pick that girl up from McDonald's that's on the fries over the one who's Jamar, I'm gonna be so honest with you. Like I said, I have a lot of friends that went to college. I went to college myself. I have nothing against education. I
Of
don't
course
I
not.
don't understand though, why that, they cannot see. Like I said, I almost got caught into myself, Jamal. I can't even lie to you. I was
Right, right,
subscribing to the book, to the mess. I
right,
definitely was. Thank God I got out of it because I heard one of my friends say, and it's scary. She said, "I'm gonna hug my degrees at night." I said, "Oh, okay, sis. Well, go ahead." I
right.
say after that. I,
Well, I heard it all. I've heard, well, these degrees keep me warm at night, or these degrees afford me the X, Y, and Z. Oh, I'm like, really? Is that what's keeping you warm at night? Is that really? And here's the thing: despite you telling me that a degree keeps you warm at night, you would rather have a husband keep you warm at night.
right. And
You would rather have a companion there. So despite you even telling me that, the truth is you rather have a competent companion there doing that for you, doing things for you. So, and when you say I almost got caught up, see, I almost got caught up myself at a point where I thought that I was on the right, quote unquote, right side of history, promoting equality, all this equality talk. But here's the thing, equality talk from the man perspective actually makes you more mean to women. And that's why it's so dangerous, because you don't feel like a woman's a woman anymore. When you truly keep promoting the equality talk, you feel like, hey, care what hardship she going through. Hey, we equal. Why should I do anything, even to the simplest things as holding a door? You feel like, well, hey, we're in an equal world now, so it shouldn't matter. And the list goes on. So the mentality is just dangerous across the board when we keep having this equal talk. A man and a woman are not equal. A man's not equal to a woman. A woman's not equal to a man. We have to embrace polar opposites, because that's where the success is. A man seeing you as a woman, you and your feminine energy, that's where the success is. That's where he's going to treat you like a woman, and he's going to treat you in a way where you're proud to stand beside him, and the opposite way for the man.
Jamar, break down to the woman, because like I said, I've tried to have so many of these conversations. You know where I stand, Jamar. But break down to the woman, because I don't believe that they understand that what you're saying, or what, when we say traditional and things of that nature, that we're not saying that you can't go get the education. We're not
Correct.
saying that, you can't go and be this phenomenal woman, but,
Right.
can you break that down for them? Because I don't think, people grasp that we're not saying you're going to be dismissed and, a servant to your man,
Right, absolutely. So I'm sure you saw the status, one of the stats that I put up that's getting a lot of attention, where basically I said the type of men you would want to marry care 10 times more about your feminine than your paycheck or degrees. Can your ego handle that? It's a very simple status, in nature. And reading it, I would think someone could just easily comprehend it. But a lot of bruised egos commented on the status about, I'm oppressing women. I don't want them to be successful. You're trying to hold us down. You're trying to take us back to the 1950s. We don't need men. I've heard I didn't go to school to appease a man. I didn't get my degree for you. I mean, the list goes on. And of course, they cursing me out on top of all that. And the main thing that I was really just saying is that you can have a list of wonderful things about yourself, as you should. We're all multifaceted in different ways as human beings. But the top thing that a masculine man is going to look for is your feminine energy. Are you in feminine energy? Yes or no? It's either there or it's not there. And if it's not there, to a point, that's fine, but you have to at least acknowledge that it's not there and start working on it, because that's the top thing that's going to make the man be with you, want to stay with you. That's the main thing, when he's going to notice about you, and that's going to attract him to you. So men don't want to meet your degree. Men don't want to meet your title. They don't want to meet whatever position you might be holding. Those are great things about you. Those are like the nuances of a woman that's like, she's a good woman first. Number one, she's in feminine energy. But on top of that, she has a degree from so-and-so school. She did this. She accomplished this. It's like wonderful extras on top of a great meal. You have the main course, you have the main thing there. But, in addition to all that, you have all these great, wonderful things to add to it. So ingredients, if you will. So I just think modern women have to take the time to understand that if you have that degree or education, titles, anything, that's for you. The man you would ideally want to marry is going to see that as a plus, a great addition to who you are as a woman. But if you're not in feminine energy, you make it harder to attract the best mate. You make it harder on yourself to attract anything. regarding a man, because if you're in your masculine, he's in his masculine, it only equals conflict, resentment, and eventual failure, communication problems, breakdown. Now you don't want to be around each other because you're the same as him. You're trying to lead, and you're definitely, no man really wants that.
So I have 2 points for you really quick. So first one,
Okay.
back when I was still learning who I was before, really falling in love with myself, dating. I would always mention, oh, I got this many degrees and I got this many businesses and stuff, and it would turn a man off. The only men that it attracted was the ones who were after my pockets, the ones who were looking for someone to live on. I'm just leave that at that. Since then, I don't even say anything about my degrees. And they say, oh, you're so humble. You got all this going for yourself. Yeah, because that's not something that, I need to lead with because that's not going to reel you in. But anyways, secondly, so
Absolutely.
one thing I've learned is that our generation, being women, we were raised mostly by single mothers. And so we seen the struggles that they had to go through. And so we try to learn how to do things better. So that's why we went after these degrees and, making all this money and stuff. And men just weren't in the homes like that. But now we're seeing something to our generation. Men are starting to step up to the plate. They're starting to be men and be head of the households. So that's something that's, we're going to have to unlearn and we're going to have to be retrained on is how do we be a woman to fit that man because they're starting to do what their fathers didn't do. So what do you think is going to take for us to even wrap our minds around, okay, hey, there are men who are actually stepping up to be men. So we don't have to take that place anymore.
One thing for sure, and love the question. One thing for sure is you have to acknowledge that number one, there are men who have a wonderful story, right? And he's looking for that woman to be a part of his story. And I would classify myself as one of those men because guess what? I grew up with a single mother. I didn't have a father in the home. I saw my mom do everything. When I say everything, literally, it was her responsibility, and I saw her lift a heavy load, to take care of 4 kids. So at first, right, the deadly combination of the deadly combination of seeing a single mom be that strong woman and all this equality talking in school while I'm going to college, it created I don't know what's the best word for it, but less than a man. Because then I saw the woman not as a woman. I saw her as a life coworker, someone who's supposed to do what I do, someone who, like, hey, I lead on Monday, she lead on Tuesday. I lead on Wednesday. She got the weekends. I'm not seeing her as a woman. So that's what it created. It created a chemical imbalance between the man and the woman. It wasn't until I want to say maybe my late 20s where I started to have spiritual awakening to the point where I started to get my masculinity in check and become the man that I should be. So if you are a woman and you're saying, I think number one, you have a modern woman and you're saying, okay, I start to see men are stepping up. They have great stories and they're ready to kind of lead. You have to acknowledge that for what it is, meaning that there are a lot of negative things said about men. If you go to a lot of my statuses, especially the one that's going now about the paychecks and degree, you'll see that women immediately, comment negative. It's, oh, these men are broke. These men don't have anything. They can't do this. They can't do that. If that's your mindset, right away, you're not going to attract the right mate because any man who has anything, he's not going to want to be around you because you already have a negative mindset about men. So it starts there. Just having a positive mindset that there is attractive, accomplished, competent man available for you. And they're out here. As you probably heard me talk before, I have a men's social club. We talk about these topics all the time. And my club is not even that big. We are nationwide, but we're only a couple dozen people. Imagine the many men's clubs out there that have leaders, have people that are competent, people that are, reaching age where they want to get married. They're accomplished. They have certain things in set for themselves, and they're looking for that wife, that significant other to take care of. So I just think it starts there. And no, like you said, you did it perfect. You're no longer leading with the degree. It's a great asset, wonderful, but it adds to the nuances of who you are. It's not the totality of your personality, of who you are. It's one thing that definitely a chink in your armor, excuse me, not a chink in your armor, a notch in your belt, where you can say, yes, this is part of me, but not all of me.
It's crazy because like completing like 10 years of education or whatever, the reason I did it was because to keep from addressing my issues, not wanting to be alone in my feelings and things that, healing that needed to go on. And so I kept myself busy. And so I think about how many other women strive after all these things, leaving all this inside stuff unaddressed. So it's just crazy how, like, just looking back on my process and how long it's taken me to get here, how long, it'll take other women to get here as well, especially if they finally recognize what it is that's keeping them there in that place. But
Listen,
but you
I,
talked a lot about like femininity. Can you describe that? What does that mean in your words for a woman to be feminine?
So people gotta put a disclaimer because we have so many definitions out here, and everybody takes to their own way of doing it or defining it. To me, it's the polarity in it, meaning that the polar opposite of the masculine. And it means a woman fully embracing that she wants to be engaged and caressed in all senses with the masculine. So the traditional characteristics of a woman, you're in full energy of it, and you're not fighting it. You're not conflicting with it. Meaning that if I say, a woman being soft, you're not saying, "Oh, I'm strong." You just for the sake of saying it. You're embracing, yes, being soft is part of being feminine. Nothing wrong with that. That's actually a great, great, wonderful thing.
I was just trying to piggyback off y'all on the last part. I know Kayla was saying, I don't know if it was Kevin Samuels. I'm sure you're familiar with him, Jamar.
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah,
I,
Kevin. Mhm.
yeah, I mean, he does say some things that's pretty much out there, but for the most part, I do think he drops a lot of gems. But
Right.
I just want to say, I think it was him that said when a woman can't, because what Kayla just said, hit with what he said. I believe he was the one I overheard. I listened to, a lot of people surrounding this topic, but he said something along the fact that if she can't get a man or she ain't got no kids by a certain age, up here come the other degree, and he called him a PhD. So
PhD.
I
Right.
mean,
Right.
when Kayla just said that, I was like, whoa, that just hit. So, what are your thoughts on, I don't know if you guys want to particularly say black women, but women at a certain age or educated women not being able to be married and things of that nature? Why do you think it's so hard for the modern woman with all of these degrees to get a husband?
Well, for me, I think it's because you're you're kind of denying yourself the opportunity. Number one, you feel like because a lot of women look at it as, why should I? I don't need a man for anything, or if they do anything for the expressed pleasure of a man, it's a bad thing, or it's seen as, oh, I'm weak, or I don't want to fit in, quote unquote. When it's completely the opposite. I think at a certain age, a woman not being married or and she's educated, you just got to have that talk with herself to say, okay, why did I get all this education? Despite the obvious, why did I need all this? Why do I need all this stuff? Because it's beyond education. A lot of it's debt. You got a lot of women taking a lot of girls trips, and there's nothing wrong with girls trips, but if at a certain level, why are you taking so many of them? When A lot of women need to admit, hey, I would like to go on a trip with a man, nice guy, whatever. So I just think it's stop denying yourself the opportunity, number one. And then number two, like I said, having that long talk with yourself about what you really want. And are you doing the things to attract a man as well? You know, a lot of people use other institutions. I don't want to say the church per se, but other social clubs and things of that nature. They do anything to avoid putting themselves in position to attract the men, so they can have the excuse to say, "Well, I got this going on, I got that going on, so that's why I haven't had time to date," or I'm too busy for a man, etc.
You are hitting it dead on the head. Kayla, what you got? Okay, so like I had this debate back in one of the fellowships or whatever I was in a couple years ago, and we were talking
Hmm.
about how a black woman cannot be a feminist because of black women having, to be single mothers and raising a household and things like that. But now we're going into like this era where black women are actually starting to become feminists. And so, is it even possible for a black woman to really be a feminist, a strong black woman? Let's put it like that. And if it isn't, what would you say is like the difference between the two? I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the whole thing.
So, as we all know, the feminist thing started more as a white thing, the white woman standing up to her man, basically tired of him and I guess his abuse of power and things of that nature. To strengthen it, they have brought black women along for the ride, and that's of course caused all types of chaos in the community, and has blamed basically the black man for all the failures going on between us. So it's kind of a one-sided argument. um, I think that the difference there, you got to keep it real and say there's very little difference, in my opinion, between them, because a feminist might have a certain political point, and the strong black woman might not have that, stance or whatever, but she's doing things like the feminist. So, sometimes you can have a teammate you don't know about, and that's kind of how I look at it. Where, okay, you're not a feminist per se, but if you're saying, "Oh, I'm a strong black woman," then what are you really saying? Because you can be strong in different ways, and I think that term is so dangerous to say things like this, where, "Oh, I'm a strong black woman." It's dangerous to keep that rhetoric publicly, because then everyone starts looking at the black woman not as a human anymore, not as a woman anymore. People start looking at you as, like I said earlier in the status, as this Marvel superhero, this big, strong person who's going to save the day and, make everything happen. And we can always depend on her. And when I have emotional problems, I'm just going to go to the black woman. She's going to, give me a little rub on the back, some tissue, say some encouraging words, and then I can just roll out. So we have to be careful with that rhetoric of strong black woman, because the world, when you echo that to the world starts looking at black women not for who they are, but they start looking at her as kind of like, oh, the last line of defense. Person that's going to take care of everything. We can always, give the task to Keisha. She'll make sure it's all done. She ain't got a man anyway, so, it's all good. When no, we have to, take her in her feminine energy if she's there, of course. Even if she's not there, we still have to treat her as a good human. So that rhetoric of strong black woman, I'm against, because I know how things are, how people are programmed. You keep saying something, that's what they're going to believe about you. Even, and this is controversial what I'm about to say, but I said it on another podcast. Even that statement about black girl magic, on the surface, it's like this super celebrated, phrase. Okay, black girl magic sounds innocent, sounds real, catchy, but look at the phrase itself, black girl magic. that means that black women are magical. Therefore, hey, once again, let's just put everything on them. Um, they'll do the magic trick. They'll solve the problems. They'll figure it out. Hey, it's all good. When that shouldn't be the case. I wish it was more feminine things contribute to black women instead of just the whole role of expecting her to save the day type of thing, or everything's on their shoulders. But that's my opinion about it.
And we're like, okay, as a black woman, changing our mindset regarding this, and we have to start looking that there are men stepping up to the plate. There are men who are actually wanting to be men. So what does it mean for a man to be masculine? What should be some things that we should be actually looking for, keeping our eye out on that, okay, this is the type of man that I should be looking for, or, should allow to pursue me?
Okay. Number one, he's a leader of his own life, and he's unapologetically leading his way to his own vision. And whether in not in an arrogant way, just more whether you're there or not, he's getting it done, and he's not looking to you to necessarily fix the problem. Meaning that, like you said earlier, the guys who were always into your degrees and things like that, they were just looking for a come up. Kind of like I said, looking at you as the strong black woman who's going to take care of everything. She's going to come through, save the day. 50-50 everything, 30-70 if I can pull it off, that type of thing. When you're dealing with a traditional masculine man, he's not looking for you to solve his problems. In fact, you can look at his life and say, okay, I see he's really strong here. Maybe I can help him elsewhere. Maybe I can help him do this better, etc. But he has a foundation in himself, and that shows that he's competent. He knows who he is. He's competent. He's confident as well. Excuse me. And you don't have to. You're not worried. Okay, is he gonna call me in the middle of the night and ask for some crazy favor? Do I got to worry about him dropping the ball on very serious issues? There's a clarity. Like I said earlier, traditional gender role. There was a clarity. What he brought to the table, who he is, number one, and you're not looking at him as, okay, what do I have to do for him? It's kind of a mirroring. It's kind of like there's a natural attraction of he wants to lead and he can lead. Therefore, you're going to let him lead.
So those men who are like still stuck in that mindset of having a woman raise them or take care of them or whatever the case is, what do you think is leaving them there in that position to where that's keeping them from actually stepping up to the plate?
A lot of things. A lot of things. You got to keep, number one is they're being encouraged to be that way. I would say, in a way, mainstream media encourages them to look for the woman who's going to provide for them mentally, financially, who can be more of a psychologist to help them get through life. So the traditional masculine man is being looked at as an enemy. He's trying to oppress us, trying to keep us down. And what I call the evolved guy, this is the guy that's going to talk your ear off on a date about equality and how feminism is so great. And, he's looking at you as an equal. You're going to share everything 50-50. That guy's going to he's encouraged. That's just my opinion of it. They're being encouraged. Men are being encouraged to be that way. Number one. I think number two is not having male figures around, whether that's a father, a coach, a right teacher, pastor. I think those traditional male figures are being canceled out because they're being seen as, like I said, oppressive. So the combination of those two is why I believe a lot of men don't really want to lead, and they're looking to the woman to say, well, like I said, that shared relationship where it's like, you lead on Monday, I lead on Tuesday. I give you the weekend. Maybe we could switch it up every month or something like that. It's instead of being definite for sure, guaranteed, getting it done. It's kind of looked at as an iffy, maybe, or there's a timid energy about this quote unquote new modern guy.
Mr. Macy, you've been kind of quiet. You have something to add?
Yeah, I've been listening. I've been kind of just taking everything in and really absorbing this because as important as it is to input, a lot of times we know it's equally as important to listen and absorb. And it's been a lot of good information, a lot of controversial stuff that I know some people gonna be like, hey man, what are you talking about? Nah, and that's I'm expecting that, but yeah, concerning what y'all were talking about, a man being comfortable with a woman doing all that, he's complacent in his position. He may have gotten used to her taking care of everything, and that's just where he's comfortable at. And like Jamar was saying, he's been encouraged to stay there, and because he has no drive of his own, that's where he's gonna sit. He's gonna sit there and allow himself to be taken care of and quote unquote catered to or whatnot. I that's just not how I came up. That's not how I've learned things in my life, in my particular experience. I've come into a relationship and just unconsciously begin to take everything over. I pay this, I take care of this, I do this, not to show that I'm this big bad man, but because that's the way I love on a person. That's what I enjoy to do. I want to make sure that you're good. I want to make sure that you have what you want and what you need to do the things you want and you need to do. And when I do fall short and when I need help, then it's up to me to ask you like, hey, I need a little help here, or what do you think about this? That's where the help me comes in. That's where, you know, the it's not necessarily that she can't take care of things or that she doesn't have the mental capacity or fortitude to do so. But that's where us coming together as a unit really works. Like, hey, help me when I'm down, but any other time, I'm doing this because I really enjoy it, and that's me. That's me being a man. That's me handling the business that I need to handle for me and from my family.
Absolutely, absolutely, well said.
So this just made me think of, I've heard this from a couple of men, but there are women who are after the pockets as well, gold diggers out there. And they've had to deal with a lot of these women. So I've heard men say that they're getting to the point where they're requiring 50-50 now. So I understand what has gotten them there to that point, but how can they even like switch their mindsets to say, hey, there are also good women out there who have a lot to bring to the table who are not just after your pockets? Because I feel like they're starting to stray away from, that head of the household, that masculinity, position that they were in.
I've heard this as well. It's definitely a concern. I think this is part of vetting during dating, and of course, not going into something naive or blind, but kind of using wisdom as you get to know somebody. I feel like when you're taking the charge on how things are flowing, then the character of the person or the woman is definitely showing. And it's kind of up to the man to distinguish, okay, this is a good woman. She's about this. This is what she values. We're on the same page. Little things of that nature. I was going to tell you earlier, but I guess it kind of ties into this, where there was a guy, he was inviting a woman out, and she said no. And he said, well, what's wrong with the place or whatever? She's like, oh, that place is it's too cheap for me. I require a certain amount of ambiance or whatever type of restaurant. Okay, well, that's a clue that okay, this woman might not be the one for me. Let me just kind of bow out gracefully, and that's the end of our exchange. Now, if he chooses to accommodate her wishes of a certain type of restaurant, then he's going to have to take on what that, what that means in dealing with her. So I think that regardless, on the woman's side, when they're complaining about, oh, men are this, and when you got the men who are saying, well, that there's gold diggers out here. Well, I mean, just common knowledge. Every woman is not going to be the one. Every man's not going to be the one. I just think a positive mindset reverts all that. Change your mindset about it. Because there great women available? Yes, there's great men available. Mindset upon getting into the dating world is going to determine who you eventually run into. And if you used to be a provider type, I don't think you should change your nature of who you are just because of the times. Someone said to me on a comment, they said, oh, you're trying to take us back to the 1950s. You need to change your thinking to the 21st century. And a lot of people agree with the comment, right? The thing is, it doesn't matter if we're in the 18th century. It doesn't matter if we're in the 23rd century, 2050, 2080. We still have biological needs. Women are going to respond to masculine men, and feminine women are going to attract masculine men. That's just point blank period, regardless of the time frame or where we are and as far as technology advances, except things of that nature. So I think regardless of the time, there might be a lot of gold diggers out here. You just got to go into it with a more positive mindset.
Y'all riddle me this, and Kayla, Mr. Mason, y'all chime in too. It seemed like with Jamar, because you talk to a lot of people on Facebook and everything, but the people who have a problem usually with the 50-50 or being a provider or all these mysterious gold diggers, when they don't have no money. So I really be lost. Like,
Right.
I'm being serious. It's always people who make, $50K and less talking about somebody being a gold digger. And it's just like, that doesn't make sense for me, And like you said, Jamar, if you're a natural provider as a male, in my opinion, then you're just going to be a provider. It shouldn't matter. You should be handling those things as a man, regardless if a woman is along or not. You should have that foundation as you stated. But I agree with everything you're saying. It's just crazy to me. That's something I've seen. I'm like, okay, you're worried about your goal being taken when you don't really have much, but okay.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Just to add on to the point, if you're making whatever 40, 50K a year, if your goal is to make six figures, how can you make it if you're so worried about the gold diggers? How you're letting something stand in the way of your goal. You're letting something affect your mindset to get to the goal. So I feel like when we put these boogeyman monsters out there in our head, we'll never achieve what we strive to achieve. And I'm not saying that there aren't bad people out there. They're there, yes. They're absolutely there. But you can't let them change your nature of who you are. It's like I was hearing this feminine coach. She was talking about that she knows that at a certain point, if the man is not masculine, that she might go on a date with a guy. She knows that she's going to turn him off because a non-masculine man is not going to be attracted to a feminine woman like that because there's requirements. He's expecting a certain type of man, and he just eliminates himself. So a gold digger is going to see that, okay, you're not accommodating all her whatever financial wants. She's going to eliminate herself, and you should eliminate yourself before all that. But I'm just saying that the process of elimination happens, in the right way.
Then you won't have to be worried about home too. Like if you are trying to get those 6 figures, if you have a woman in a family and those type of things, the woman being home taking care of your family, you won't have to worry about that because she's doing that, and then you're
Right.
out getting the bacon. So I don't, but I guess they expect, as far as with the woman being working 40 hours a week, that she got to still nurture and take care of the kids in the home as well, on
Right.
top of working the 40, 50 hours a week, and then still having time to be sexy for him and all of those things. She's definitely superwoman, because no woman can, no woman can do all of that, not have full course meals and, really what you want to do, because just being a stay-at-home mom in itself is a lot of work. So, if you're doing it right, if you don't have the pads in front of your children, but you're actually teaching them, so yeah, it's a lot of work. So, as a man, you having that woman, you taking care of that woman, and you going out and get the bacon, and then your woman's at home doing what needs to be done. That's something you don't have to worry about, you know?
Absolutely.
It just make me think of feminists, or, the men who are just, about the pockets, or the ones who talking about the gold diggers, all of them in the same boat. Until you change your mindset, you're going to keep attracting the same thing over and over and over again. And so it's like, are we really wanting something different? We can't want something different or expect something different if we're still stuck in that same place. So
But can
Absolutely.
Jamar,
to an
where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? How do we proceed to get things back on track and actually get these power couples and, the way God intended us to be?
So this is my little simple scene about it, but a lot of people don't get it, and it start asking all types of crazy questions. As a modern woman, you got to understand that men don't process things like a woman. Men don't process life like a woman. Your thinking is not going to be his thinking. Period. It's that simple. Modern men, women are not going to process life like you. They're not going to always see things in your logic. It's just the way it is. You have to appreciate the differences between each other in order to move forward. And I think that's just a big problem. I mean, and not to make it more controversial, but you got a lot of this gender stuff, right? Where now people are saying there's 9,000 genders, so your first question kind of clarifies a lot of things. When there's clarity, there's success. When there's not clarity, it's confusion. Confusion goes into breakdown of communication, which turns into failure. When you don't know who does what or who is what, all it does is start confusion and hijinks. You never know how better the relationship can be because y'all so arguing about who's going to lead. See, when you in a relationship of clarity, you know the man's going to lead. It's period. That's just what it is. He's going to be a strong leader. You're not looking like, okay, well, sometimes I'm gonna lead, sometimes you're gonna lead, and sometimes I'm gonna do this and you're gonna do that. There's a certain way of proceeding where I know you both wake up knowing what it is, and that's the problem with the modern relationships. You got people in bed together, waking up not knowing, number one, not knowing each other, then number two, not knowing who's playing what role. And I think from here, as when I think about my awakening or whatever, once I was like, I'm a masculine man, I'm going to lead my life as a masculine man. I'm going to know who I am. I'm not even looking for a woman to do anything for me necessarily, or I'm not looking. Upon meeting her, I'm not saying, well, how much she make and where she work at, and maybe she can help me with this rent. I'm not doing that. There's a clarity there. So I think clarity, knowing who you are on both sides, and I know that a woman doesn't process things like a man. Therefore, I'm not expecting her to be a man And therefore, the way I carry my life like that, I'm able to handle exchanges way better.
I was just saying about with the I was just piggybacking off that we were talking about gold digging. To an extent, shouldn't a woman be a gold digger? As far as I hear a lot of modern women these days too, with all the degrees and money that they make, they try to make it seem as if women try to go out their way who aren't gold diggers to say by paying for meals, and which I'm never going to do, pay for meals and things of that nature, and be the man basically, paying for a lot of things, just to show out of their way on dates and things to show that they aren't a gold digger. And I say to that, to some extent, as a man, you should show that you're a provider, and a woman should be looking for a man for security. I mean, what woman would actually want to be with a man that's broke? When I hear women talk like that, I honestly turn off. I've never even, I don't even care to be, that's just below me. Um, I'm just like, no. You know what I mean? So, but I see so many modern women, is what I'm saying. They get into a space to where they're like trying to prove that they're not a gold digger, although they're not. What are your thoughts on that, and how do they, I guess, go about showing that they're not into a man for money? But I guess they don't want stability. I mean, it's, to me, it's a fine line. Um,
Right, right. Well, you gotta. This is me. There's a difference between a man providing for your life and a man providing for your ego, and you got to distinguish what are we talking about here and who's doing what for what. You know, I talk about it in my book. A woman's womb is wired to be ruthless. So, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I mean, I guess you got to have a certain level of understanding of women, but no woman should want a broke man. No woman should want a man of no ambition, who doesn't have anything going for himself, no drive. He struggles to get up, to make things happen in the morning or whenever, he's getting up. So I don't, I'm with you on that. No woman should just go along to play along, as far as, well, I don't want to come off as a gold digger, things like that. But see, once again, I was saying clarity, right? Because when you're in your feminine energy, the masculine man is just going to know, look, I'm making things happen. I'm making things shake. I'm paying for stuff. I'm getting it done. And then I want my woman to maintain her feminine energy. I'm going to contribute to the feminine energy she already displayed to me, right? Therefore, I'm going to provide, etc., or do whatever to make life easier for her. If you're dealing with the opposite, then I kind of feel like that's the problem, where you're not looking for a provider. Like I said, you're not looking for a provider for your life. You're looking for a provider for your ego. When I think about these memes that says, if he can't afford a Birkin, then he's worthless type stuff. You don't need a Birkin. That's a want. That's a desire. Hey, if you meet a guy that wants to buy you that for you, great. But a man not being able to afford a Birkin, that doesn't mean he's not. That doesn't mean he's nothing. That doesn't mean he's not worthless. He's worthless. That just means he can't afford a Birkin. That doesn't mean he can't provide you a nice, clean, stable life. So, you just got to distinguish that talk. I would definitely tell women to go for stability, go for providers. Don't limit yourself, and don't feel like you have to just, say, okay, if he doesn't have any money, I still don't want to come off as I'm just after money. But to me, like I said, the feminine inspires the masculine, and you being full of that, he's going to know what time it is. It won't even be, you don't even have to say it to him. He just knows to provide, to take care of things, to get things done, whatever you might need, or whatever you're calling about. So, are we talking about providing for a life? or just some IG pictures so you can look good in front of your friends.
All right, so before we close out, I just want you to tell us about what your up and coming books are about.
Sure, absolutely. So of course I have my first book already available on Amazon, Supernatural Confidence. Definitely, loving the sales and appreciating all the support it's gotten and the help that it has provided to people. My next book is called When Men Were Men. That book is debuting next month in May, mid-May. We're looking at May 14th right now. It's the launch date. Basically giving a historical, hello, sir, historical view of what manhood was and how did we reach how manhood is now in the modern world. And just giving tidbits and tips for the modern man living today.
You just gonna leave us hanging on the other one?
Excuse me, the book Beyond When Men Were Men is for the ladies, actually. It's for the women. Excuse me, definitely. It's called The Day She Learned Chess. So that book is definitely for the modern woman, learning about love and business and personal relationships in general. Definitely some healing tips, being in the feminine power, coming into her own, and not quote unquote dealing with what the world tells you to deal with, or not just going after social acceptance, so that you feel quote unquote left out, or I don't want to, what they say, fear of losing out, things of that nature. And you're in your own power, you're not afraid of losing out because you know who you are. So The Day She Learned Chess, definitely looking forward to that. That's in this summer though. That's coming up in the summertime, early August, but definitely should be a thriller.
But I am looking forward to it as well. I'm sure it's gonna blow some people's minds. So I'm
Definitely.
looking forward to where it's going to take you because I see big doors opening for you. So,
Appreciate it.
well, Mr. Camper, I just want to thank you so much for joining us on tonight and just, spilling your wisdom on both the ladies and the fellas because it is much needed. Just thank you.
Absolutely. I
And you all
appreciate the
be on the
invite.
lookout. Yes, be on the lookout for them books. I'm pretty sure they're available on Amazon. I don't promote Amazon because they don't support their authors like they should, but I'm pretty sure those as well. But that's just me.
Right.
That's another day.
Right.
But yeah, go out and support Mr. Camper and tune in. We'll be back again next week. Be blessed.